This spaceship costume came out amazing. It's got 350 LEDs, two of the world's smallest light brights for controls. The whole thing glows in the dark. It's as cool as costumes get, and I'm going to show you how to make one right now. Okay, real quick, here is how I made this spaceship costume. The body of the spaceship I made out of those foam project panels for crafts they sell at Home Depot. I glued a few of them together before shaping them into the spaceship. The hoop here is a roofing strap, which I lined with LEDs and then bent into a hoop. Coming down, this is rainbow ribbon, which I traced with some mini LEDs to make it look like we're getting abducted. I lined it with a bunch of pennies to give it some weight to hold it up against my body so it doesn't blow away in the wind. Up top, our alien's sitting pretty in a cake dome, and the control panels are two of the world's smallest light brights, and the whole thing also glows in the dark, because why not? This is one of the coolest costumes I've ever made. If you want to make a spaceship costume, this is the one. If I can do it, you can too. So I'm going to break it down right now, step by step, and show you how to do it. Let's make a costume. To begin, we need a pink foam project panel from Home Depot and a hard hat. These are roofing straps, and these are the hoops that we're going to use for our LEDs. This is the basic shape of what we're doing. This is a pack of roofing straps. You get 6 to a pack, and we're going to use 5 on this costume. They're really easy to work with. They're a really great shape. They click together and they bend easy. This is 2 of them bent into a hoop. And this is our small hoop for the top right underneath our cake dome. And the bigger hoop is 3 of these put together. We're going to have 1 left over. I went ahead and painted them because I don't want this to be the clear plastic color. Always use primer. Paint sticks to primer. Primer sticks to everything. I went ahead and spray painted the hoop gray after I glued it down. It just fits the vibe. And now I'm centering up the hard hat to make sure it's perfectly in the middle, because this is where our head's going to go. Go ahead and trace the hard hat with a marker. And this is where our head's going to go. Now that we have that done, I went ahead and painted the small hoop, and this is kind of what we're working with. This is an LED strip, and we're going to line this all the way around both of these hoops. But it faces the wrong way. So I went ahead and I tape the LED strip to some Gorilla Tape, and then I'll tape the Gorilla Tape to the hoops, and that way the LEDs are facing the right direction. Now I went ahead and pressed the Gorilla Tape with the LED strip on it up against the hoop, and this way the lights are shining out and not in. It goes up real quick. Once you get that on there, save the extra for the top hoop. I took a razor blade and I went and I trimmed the excess tape. And now we have a nice clean hoop with our LED in it for our spaceship. This is what it looks like with it's on. And this is where we're at in the dark. Pretty cool, huh? Spaceship taking place. Now we want to go ahead and start building up another layer. So I'm putting a bunch of glue. I'm using Gorilla Tape contact cement to the top of this hoop. And we're going to press another panel right on top. Make sure you line this up. And then once you get it set, go ahead and put some weight on it so the glue sticks. I put the boards out that way the dumbbells didn't dent the foam. Now it's off to the next step. 1 more layer. So I went ahead and I added some more contact cement to this foam board. Now we're just going to add another foam board with a hole cut out of it. And we're building up our spaceship. Same thing as before. I put some weight on here, let it dry, and then we'll get to the next step, which is our next layer, which is the small hoop. So I'm adding some contact cement to this. And once I get that covered, I'm going to flip it over and set it into place. Just like before, I'm going to weight it down and wait for it to dry. And here's where we should be at. You got 2 hoops and 4 layers of foam panel, and this is the bulk of our spaceship. Our head's going to go in there where the hard hat is, but we haven't glued that down yet or cut it out. Wait to do that until later. Right now I'm tracing out the rest of the LED strip with the top hoop, but it's not long enough. So you just want to make sure the dead space lines up with the back. See right here, you can see on the top, the lights kind of run out on the back, but that's okay, because as long as it's equal on both sides, it looks fine. Now it's off to the next step. We need to trim down all this foam and shape it into our spaceship. So I'm doing that with a steak knife. It's foam, it cuts pretty easy. I'm just making some rough cuts, getting rid of these corners. And once we get this cleaned up a little bit, we're going to start working it down more, slowly at a time. You can use a knife or a saw, whatever you have. It's just foam. It cuts pretty easy. Now that I've got it kind of shaped, I went ahead and I took this little handsaw I got, and I'm just cutting off little pieces at a time. That's the key. Don't use big chunks. Little pieces go easier, and it keeps it more consistent. It shaves off pretty quick. You can see how many pieces I've cut off on the table here. This whole thing took about an hour, and here's where I'm at. We got a pretty good rough shape of a spaceship, so now it's off to sandpaper. Once we have it rough, we need to polish it up, and these sanding blocks work out great. Don't forget to use your mask. You don't want to breathe this stuff in. So I went all the way around and sanded it up for about 20 minutes. And now we need to shape the bottom foam panel, just like we did before. Cut the main chunks off, and then we'll fine tune it with some small pieces we cut off, and then some sanding. Before we do our sanding, you want to remember, we got to get our head through this, which is going to look like this right here. So we need to measure out the center perfectly to cut a perfect circle for our head. We're going to do that right now. So I went and got a bowl that fits on my head, but is smaller than the hard hat. And I traced it in the middle, and this is the circle that we're going to cut out that our head is going to go through. If it's bigger than the hard hat's going to fall through. So make sure it's smaller than the hard hat. Up next, we're going to sand down the edges of the bottom panel, but we want to do that evenly. So I took a circle of foam and traced it out in the middle. That way I make sure I get an even amount of sanding all the way around so it's centered. Otherwise, your eye's going to catch it and it's not going to look right if you've got a part of it that's sanded a little more than the other. So make sure you line this up really nice and centered. We're just using it as a guide for when we sand down, and you can see here we've got a nice even sanding ring out to the edges all the way around, and we are done shaping our spaceship. Flip it over and cut the hole out of the center, and this is what you got. Now, we got to get all the dust off of here, so I just tapped a bunch off, but it's still everywhere. This paper towel is wet, so I'm wiping the last little fine dust off. This is important because we're about to paint it and we want to make sure all the dust is off here before we paint. All this right here, it's got to go. Now I took it out and painted it, hit it with a little primer and this cool color gray spray paint. This is what we have after spray painting, and we could stop right here, but the edge is really thin and it's kind of weak. This is just foam, so if we bonk into something, this is going to take a big chunk out of it, and we're going to bonk into something. So we want to go ahead and reinforce this with some 2-part epoxy. This is 2-part epoxy resin, A and B. It mixes together. It's really easy to use. It looks great, and it's strong as could be. All you do is mix the parts together, add the color you want in mica, and paint it on there. If you've never made a project with 2-part epoxy resin, watch my video where I make a cracked egg. And it's a 2-part epoxy resin tutorial. We go into this in detail, and it'll give you some good tips and pointers so you get a nice clean finish. And now we're off to the next step. This is glow-in-the-dark mica powder, and we're going to mix it into the 2-part resin and add a glow-in-the-dark layer. Just like before, we mix it in and we paint it on. It's basically powdered glow stick. This stuff is super cool. They make it in all sorts of colors. It's a really fun element to add to costumes. If you want to make it glow more, you just add more powder. And this is what it looks like with a little bit of glow. I wanted it to be a subtle effect, not EDM effect. So this is how deep it is, but this is with the lights off, and it's a really nice effect when you're right up on me. You can see it glowing. Now, it's time to put our hard hat into place and our cake dough. This is for a cake on your kitchen counter, but it's perfect for this. And I cut out a foam circle that fits on it, and this is going to sit on top right here. But you can tell it's a little too high. So what I did was add a ring to add a little spacer, but it's still a little too high, so we're going to cut the top off the hard hat. This is pretty easy to do. And once we have it cut, now it's flat, so our dome will slide up on here evenly. Just like this. Now we just need to attach it all together. But right now, here's where we're at. Looking pretty good. Our gap is even on both sides, and we want to make sure our hard hat lines up in the middle with the back with this gap. I lined it up with a piece of tape so I know where that is, and now we're going to go ahead and glue our hard hat into place with some silicone. Gump it up there real good. We don't want this coming off. This is a crux of the costume. If this comes off, our whole thing's going to fall apart. So I weighted it down with a heavy cast iron skillet and let the glue dry. I put our spacer ring in place with some Great Stuff foam, painted it real quick with some spray paint to match the color. I trimmed up the foam after it dries. And now we can open this up and turn all our LEDs on and off. So now we just need to attach this to the ring. I did that with 5 1.5-inch bolts. I put a star pattern on here and just put the bolts in the tip of the stars. It just helps me line it up with my eye. I put the bolts through, and then I countersunk the nuts on the other side of the foam. That way the bolts have something to attach to. And when you screw it together, now the bottom plate's attached, but the dome isn't. We still have to get this up. So in order to attach this, I went ahead and used these mini popsicle sticks. I glued these around the ring. I put the blue tape on so I wouldn't get any glue on our cake dome. And this way it makes a little fence that holds our cake dome into place so it doesn't fly off when we're wearing it, but we can still pop it off because just like with the LEDs below, we're going to have LEDs in this that we need to turn on and off. After I got them all up there, this is what we have. Now we can open the dome easily and close it easily and still adjust and turn LEDs on and off. Now it's time for the next step, attaching the other part of the hard hat. Hard hats have 2 parts. The white plastic part we glued up and this inner band that attaches to our head. That goes ahead and just clicks right in, and now is a good spot for us to stop and try things on. You want to make sure you can see out from underneath this, you can handle the weight, it's balanced okay, and if there's any adjustments that we need to make up top, we want to do this now before we go any further. The next step is lining all the LEDs coming down so it looks like we got abducted. This is 12 LED strips, 20 LEDs each. And we're going to go ahead and put these into place. So let's go ahead and make these right now. To make these, we need a pack of mini LEDs and some rainbow ribbon. These LEDs are my favorite to work with. They come on a wire string, 20 LEDs each. They come with the battery, and we're just going to go ahead and stretch them out and hot glue gun them onto the rainbow ribbon. I glue gunned a penny behind each LED, and that way it makes a little weighted strip and keeps everything into place. And once we're done, this is what they all look like. Now we have 12 individual ribbons, 20 LEDs each, 240 total. And in the dark, this is what we got. So in order to get those into place, here's how I did it. I spread them out after I flipped it over and then ran each ribbon up through the hard hat and just glued the penny in place. You can see our head's gonna fit in here. None of this will be in our face. It's not gonna be in the way, but it'll be nice and secure. This is the view from the other side, and it's why we cut the hole out the top. I ran the on-off switches through the hole in the hard hat and then glued those into place. And now we can reach in here and turn those on with our other LED before we go out. Now it's time to decorate our dome. This is our alien, and the bottom foam board I painted silver, and this black thing in the middle is a patio umbrella light that I'm going to use as a seat for our alien. We can bend him into shape, and he also needs a little bit of swag. I got him some slides and a beer, glued those up with a hot glue gun, taped it in place to let it dry, and now it's time for the coolest part of the whole costume, 2 of the world's smallest LITE BRITES. Yay! We're going to use these as our control panel, and I'm so glad I got these. They are the perfect effect. If you never used a LITE BRITE as a kid, this is kind of how they work. It's a light panel that's in there, and it's a pegboard, and you put the piece of paper on here, and you just push these colored pegs through, and that's about it. You can go with one of the designs that it comes with, or we can make one of our own designs and light it up however we like. So go ahead and take the colored pegs, figure out whatever it is you want to make, and we just push them through the back, through the piece of paper, and that's about it. And once we got our design set in place, this is what I got. Turns on in the back, and this is the control panel for our spaceship. I set the coordinates, NOLA 2026, here we come. How cool is this? Check it out in the dark. Now there's just one last thing that I want to do to decorate the inside of our dome, and that is give my YouTube channel a little love. Shout out to CK Printing on Etsy for making me this really cool little sign. I got to doctor it up a little bit with some LEDs. These are balloon lights. They're single LEDs with an on-off switch. They're meant to be put in balloons, but they're great for gluing onto costumes. So I'm going to hot glue some of these on here. I use 3 red, 2 blue. They come in all sorts of colors. These are a great addition to any costume kit. I recommend you get some for whatever it is you're making. So now I got them all pressed into place, and here's what it looks like in the dark. I hot glue gunned my sign into the back, and our control panel's looking great, but it's a little too bright. So right here, I'm just taking some circles of red cellophane, and I'm going to glue these down over these 4 lights on the patio umbrella light in the middle that we're using for our stand, just to tone it down a little bit. And that's it. The inside of our cockpit is dialed and styled. NOLA 2026, here we come. The last little effect that I want to give is an antenna. So I took our cake dome, which came with a little plastic handle, but I got rid of that. I kept the screw, and I put a spring onto it with a little bit of glue, and that's what I'm taping up there right now. And we're going to wait for the glue to dry, and then I also glued another single balloon light onto the top of that, only these ones flash. So all you got to do is squeeze it. It turns on, and now we have a little flashing control panel up top for our radio tower, and that's it. All finished. Another home run. This spaceship costume came out amazing. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you learned something. I'll see you out there, and I can't wait to see your costume. Be safe, everyone.